Tonight, the family of a man who died at Royal University Hospital demands answers and action. How online comments are fueling misinformation around mammograms. And a new generation of Indigenous radio broadcasters takes to the airwaves.
This is CBC Saskatchewan News.
It is Monday, January 12th, and the CBC Saskatchewan News starts right now. I'm Ethan Williams. Thank you for joining us. The family of a man killed in a Saskatoon hospital last week is speaking out. They met with the Saskatoon Tribal Council on Monday and are demanding change and answers. Jeremy Warren has our top story.
How did he pass? Where did he pass? And why? Why did it have to escalate to death?
The family of Trevor Dubois has a lot of questions. Last week, Dubois went into Royal University Hospital for chemotherapy to treat his brain cancer. By Friday morning, he had been killed in a fight with hospital security staff. Dubois' family is struggling to understand how the beloved 36-year-old social worker ended up dead. His mother, Val, last saw him at RUH the night before he died.
We left the hospital 8 p.m. Thursday night. I get a phone call 7 a.m. Friday morning. In that timeline, I have no answers. I just want to know what happened.
Saskatoon police are now investigating. On Monday, just before Dubois' family was set to meet with reporters, police put out an update. They say hospital security went into Dubois' room to check on a report he had a gun. When security tried to restrain him, a fight happened and Dubois died. Police say they found an imitation gun and methamphetamine. But the family thinks someone might have mistaken his pink pistol-shaped cigarette lighter for a gun.
So what I'm thinking is they're just trying to tear apart my brother's character. They want to justify the actions for the security guards.
Dubois' family provided this photo, saying this lighter was similar to the one he had. Police won't confirm the description of the imitation gun officers found. The Saskatoon Tribal Council is now working with the family to get answers and backs their desire to improve the healthcare system for Indigenous people.
They know there's a criminal investigation. They respect that, they understand that, but at the same time, there's got to be some respect for the family. From these organizations, that is not happening.
The Saskatchewan Health Authority says it suspended a security guard involved and hired a third party to run an internal investigation. But it won't be talking about what happened in Dubois' hospital room. Jeremy Warren, CBC News, Saskatoon.
Meanwhile, the opposition NDP is calling for emergency measures to protect patients and workers in Saskatoon hospitals. It says violence and other safety risks inside hospitals are escalating. The NDP points to a letter signed by more than 200 healthcare workers at St. Paul's Hospital. It was sent to the SHA's CEO Sunday. The opposition says the letter follows a series of recent incidents at the hospital, including one in November when a patient was found with a gun and 3 knives and a worker was threatened.
So I think in the short term, we need to see that emergency action plan, something for the here and now to protect patients and healthcare workers from acts of violence. There are, of course, bigger systemic issues that need to change as well. We need to make sure that we have an appropriate amount of staff so that staffing levels are safe. In order to do that, we have to have a good recruiting and retention plan so we have enough healthcare workers who are in these facilities to do the jobs that they've been hired to do.
The Saskatchewan Union of Nurses says violence in healthcare has become so common it's almost normalized by staff. The SHA has not responded to a request for comment. The age for Saskatchewan women to sign up for a mammogram without a doctor's referral has now dropped to 43. But as the news spread across social media, hundreds of people have posted comments filled with misinformation about the procedure. Laura Sharpaletti has that story.
When a leading breast cancer advocate read online comments about the latest mammogram age qualification in Saskatchewan, she was shocked.
I was appalled. I immediately copied the link and sent it to the advocates and the physicians that we work with, because I had never come across anything like this before. The magnitude of the misinformation was extremely concerning, and it frightened me as well.
The misinformation included claims that mammograms expose women to high levels of radiation.
People need to know that we're surrounded by radiation every day, that we get radiation from the air, the water, and the ground. And the dosage of radiation in a mammogram is very, very low.
This breast cancer survivor admits she had some concerns about mammograms before she found a lump.
Why would I expose myself to extra radiation, not knowing like the levels of the radiation at that time? Now, looking back, I wish that I would have had that availability to screen a lot earlier.
One widely spread piece of misinformation is that mammograms result in many false results. Gordon says that's misleading, and often mammogram technicians just don't have the whole picture yet. She says for every 1,000 women under the age of 50 who get mammograms, 70 of them will be called back for extra tests.
Out of the 1,000, 4 will turn out to have cancer. So it's, for those 4 women, we found it early. It's life-changing. We might have saved them major surgery. We might have saved them chemotherapy.
The Saskatchewan Cancer Agency says it promotes breast screening mammograms with myth-busting campaigns. It also works with the SHA to disperse its social media messaging. But advocates want the province to also send letters to women, like the ones reminding them to book colorectal and Pap test screening.
Hey, did you know you're eligible? Hey, don't listen to these myths that you might have seen on social media. And here is the stats. Here's what can happen when we detect it early, and here's what happens if we do find something. I don't think that needs to be scary.
Lord Sharpaletti, CBC News, Regina.
A Saskatoon judge has gone above what the Crown was asking for in the sentence for a bus driver who drove drunk while transporting a group of students. 71-year-old Richard Petratz was driving a chartered bus with 52 school children aboard in March of last year. They were traveling back to Saskatoon after a day at Table Mountain Ski Hill near the Battlefords. Petratz admitted he drank alcohol while also taking prescribed fentanyl and hydromorphone for his chronic back pain. The Crown had recommended a community-based sentence of 2 years less a day. But in his decision Monday, Judge Brad Mitchell said given the circumstances, he decided to sentence Petratz to 6 months in jail plus a year of probation. An early morning fire has temporarily shut down a popular Regina donut shop. The owner of Country Corner Donuts at the corner of Dewdney Avenue and Broad Street says he was woken up around 4 a.m. Monday to a phone call from the shop's alarm company. When he got there shortly after, he was greeted by thick black smoke. He ended up running inside and tried extinguishing the fire himself before calling 911.
I have a little bucket here. Little bucket, we always put in front in the case we need something. And I fill up about 10 buckets like that.
Everybody rallies behind Vaughn, and now he has to deal with this. And not sure exactly where I'm going to go for coffee anymore for a while, but I'll come here and I'll help him do whatever he needs to do on my days off.
FAM suspects his shop's soup station was the cause of the fire. He says he wants to reopen as soon as possible and is grateful for all the offers of help he's already received. Iran's foreign minister says his government is ready to negotiate with the U.S., but he says Iran remains prepared for war if the U.S. goes ahead with military intervention following 2 weeks of violent protests in the Middle Eastern country. Meanwhile, Iranians living in Saskatoon gathered this weekend to show support for those back in Iran. They're calling for a regime change and expressed solidarity with the country's exiled crown prince, who has been critical of the current government. Internet and phone lines in Iran have been cut, meaning many here can't get a hold of people back home.
You can imagine how it feels when you don't know if your dad even is alive now or not.
Family, our friends, everyone.
I saw a video this morning. I saw a verified video this morning that they killed. There was like lots of hundreds, like dead bodies on the ground, and the families was just screaming and searching for their loved one.
A U.S.-based human rights group now says the death toll from the protests has surpassed 500 and more than 10,000 people have been arrested. Well, that blanket of snow over Regina is getting thinner and thinner by the day. We've been treated to some nice warm weather lately, and that's been peeling away some of the snow cover. And we are not done with this warm spell just yet. In fact, things may get even warmer in some cases in the coming days. Weather specialist Mickey Wolf has the details in her forecast after the break. Welcome back. Last week, we brought you the story of the importance of local radio stations in northern Saskatchewan. They connect people with language and cultural programming that can't be found anywhere else. And in Regina, the next generation of Indigenous broadcasters are in training.
Today we got a really full house. Everybody say good morning and say your name.
These students are getting hands-on experience on how to be radio broadcasters and connecting to Indigenous communities. They're part of CFNU Radio, a Regina station run by Indigenous Communication Arts students at First Nations University of Canada. After being dormant for several years, the station has been relaunched and streams online.
The Canadian Armed Forces.
For Amanda Leader, working with the station has allowed her to connect with her Nakota roots.
Being here at CFNU, it's given me opportunities where I've been able to go and live stream Indigenous language conferences where my language is being featured too. So I get to sit there and listen to these speakers all day, you know, and that's such a, it doesn't just teach me the language, it also it feels good with your spirit.
It's all in an effort to connect with people not just across Saskatchewan, but around the world.
You know, it used to be so much freer, maybe 10 years ago, even in the media. There was such a bigger media corps in every city, in smaller locations, and all of that. But for us, this is an opportunity to build a space where we can still share those stories, where we can build out from radio into, you know, some really exciting podcast experiences.
We see people sitting in waiting rooms for 12, 15, even 20 hours.
A 60s Scoop survivor, Lori Dietz, has reconnected with her culture by visiting her biological family in Pine House and listening to Indigenous radio programs up there. She says it's helped her become more confident in broadcasting.
There was a few people within news, Indigenous, that I really looked up to growing up. And I never really thought that I could do that. I didn't really believe it. I wanted to, but I didn't think I could. And then I start coming here, and then I get these opportunities, and then those things that you don't believe all of a sudden become a reality. And then you share that, and then other people say, hey, I can do that.
Abel Charles has spent about 40 years broadcasting in Cree and working as a journalist in northern Saskatchewan. He says it's crucial for future broadcasters to learn the protocols of interviewing elders and getting words in Indigenous languages correct.
Challenge some of the narratives that have been told, you know, for many years, you know, for the past 100 years, you know, and let's get the Indigenous perspective of those stories.
It's something these students say they'll take into their careers, especially Lori Dietz, who just became one of the first U of R graduates with a Bachelor of Arts in Indigenous journalism.
And many come from remote northern.
Weather specialist Mickey Wolf joining us now. And you know, if every day in January or February was like this, Mickey, I wouldn't be complaining.
I don't think I'd be complaining too much either, Ethan. It's pretty nice out there. We are starting to see that snow melt, at least in south and central Saskatchewan, and we might continue to see that over the week. Let's take a look at some of these very warm temperatures for January that we saw across the province this morning. A high of 12 for Maple Creek. This may be a record-setting temperature. We'll have to wait until tomorrow to check that out, but a very warm day for south and central Saskatchewan, and a windy one at that. We are seeing some pretty strong gusting today, up to 60 kilometers and above for Saskatoon throughout the day today. And our skies are looking a little bit rainy, at least in south and central Saskatchewan tonight. And that rain will make another appearance as we get into the week. We're seeing a low pressure system moving out of the province into tomorrow morning, and a high pressure system making its way just by the Manitoba border there. We're seeing a little bit of cloud cover throughout the day Wednesday, and then Thursday overnight into the next day, we are going to see some snow happening potentially for that southwest corner and definitely in the north. But let's take a look at the south and central regions first. Now, these are the numbers we might see if that falls as rain, which it likely will for most of south and central Saskatchewan. Wynyard seeing the most of that, potentially up to 4 millimeters. Now in the north, we may see this fall as snow, very likely for the far north, up to 8 centimeters. But if it does fall as rain, we are looking at a quite significant rainfall there for the very far north here. We've got those temperatures warming up throughout the week. We'll see a very, very warm day Wednesday and into Thursday, and then things are starting to cool down again Thursday evening and moving into the weekend. And we can see that reflected here for Regina. Now we've got some very windy days ahead of us here Thursday and Sunday. We're seeing that gusting to 70 kilometers an hour and excess. So we've got really windy winds out there to accompany those warmer temperatures for our January before things cool down next Monday. And similarly for Saskatoon, we are looking at breezier days here as well. We've got a high of 1 Thursday, but then we're going to see that gusting up to 70. So it might feel a little bit colder, but luckily this strong wind isn't happening when we've got minus 20 temperatures. So all in all, Ethan, very warm January 2026, and I'm curious about how February will shake out.
Yeah, you brought us the sun, you brought us the warmer temperatures. Any chance you can do something about those strong winds?
I will do my best, Ethan.
We'll hold you to it. Okay, thanks, Mickey.
Thank you.
The Saskatchewan Roughriders head coach Corey Mace will have one less thing on his plate come this CFL season. Mace has given up his defensive coordinator responsibilities and given them to Josh Bell. Bell has been the team's defensive backs coach and pass game coordinator since 2024.
It's a collaborative effort. I don't think that's going to change at all. But certainly, a lot of people, I'm sure, would be interested in having Josh Bell, run their defense, and we're fortunate as ever to have him stay in the building and be able to do that.
The Riders have also re-signed a couple of prominent playmakers from this past season. Former Regina Ram Tavon Campbell will stay with the Green and White for the 2026 season, and linebacker Jameer Thurman has signed a one-year contract playing for the team in 2026 and 2027. Well, the Winter Olympics are fast approaching, now less than a month away, and we will now know who will lead the Canadian contingent for figure skating. Piper Gillis and Paul Poirier won Saturday's ice dance event at the Canadian National Skating Championships in Gatineau. That secures their spot on Canada's Olympic figure skating team. It will be their third appearance together at the Olympics, following Pyeongchang in 2018 and Beijing 2022. And here is the 12-person team posing after officially qualifying for Milano Cortina 2026 with Gillis and Poirier at the right. Canada is to send 7 entries total. That includes 3 ice dance teams, 2 pairs, and 1 each in men's and women's singles. And CBC is your destination for all the excitement at every golden moment when the games get underway in just over 3 weeks. You can watch the opening ceremonies live on CBC News Network on February 6th at 12:30 p.m. local time or wherever you stream CBC. The provincial men's and women's curling championships wrapped up in Melville over the weekend. Regina's Jolene Campbell skipped her team to a win. She'll represent Saskatchewan at the Scotties Tournament of Hearts later this month. And on the men's side, Kelly Knapp's Regina rink bested Ryan Kleider's Saskatoon team. Knapp moves on to represent Saskatchewan at the Brier next month in St. John's. Stay with us. We're back after the break. Innovation Saskatchewan is handing out over $2 million for a number of research and development projects. 9 projects out of the Saskatchewan Advantage Innovation Fund and AgTech Growth Fund will receive money.
Saskatchewan success stories like Green Wave Innovations really prove that not only is this province the home to innovative leaders, but also developing cutting-edge ideas. But that investing in innovation really is essential to creating a more resilient economy, as well as a prosperous future.
The projects are expected to help early-stage tech companies accelerate the commercialization of game-changing technologies. Innovation Saskatchewan says the projects will benefit sectors like mining, energy, and healthcare. And applications for the Community Rink Affordability Grant are now open. Funding for the program has doubled to $5,000 per rink. The grant aims to help offset the costs of operating indoor skating and curling rinks across the province. The provincial government says over 350 facilities benefited from the program last year. The last day to submit an application is February 27th. And Mickey, I think there's a lot of people who are going to choose to skate outside instead of inside with this warm weather.
Definitely, Ethan. I mean, if the ice stays, that's the main question I'm thinking about here as we look at a warmer week relatively across Saskatchewan. Let's take a look at some of these overnight temperatures feeling pretty balmy in South and Central Saskatchewan. We're seeing those temperatures above 0 in the south and just around freezing for the central region. We've got a little bit of flurries or rain depending on how that falls into southeast and east central. And in the north, we are seeing potentially snow or flurries for the Churchill region, and that's looking more like flurries scattered throughout the far north. And tomorrow, that system's going to be making its way out of the north by midday there. We will see quite a bit of a warm up, especially for the Churchill region there with those highs near 0. And in the south and central region, again, we've got a warmer day with chances of flurries or scattered showers throughout the day. But by the time we hit the afternoon hour, we've got some gorgeous temperatures, Ethan. So if the ice is still there, maybe a good time for an outdoor skate.
Yeah, maybe without the rain too. Okay, thank you, Mickey.
Awesome, thanks, Ethan.
And that's our show for this Monday. For news anytime, you can head to cbc.ca/sask or subscribe to the CBC Saskatchewan YouTube channel. You can also, of course, download the CBC News app on your smartphone or tablet. Thank you so much for watching.